Hey, incredible viewers! Welcome to a story that'll grip your heart and blow your mind. A tale of a pregnant journalist, a biotech millionaire, and a secret so explosive it could destroy everything they love. Tonight, Clara Evans faces the night her world burns down. Get ready for twists, tears, and a fight for survival you won't forget. The San Francisco fog draped the city in a restless haze, curling around the penthouse where Clara Evans sat, her sharp green eyes locked on her laptop screen. At 29, 8 months pregnant, she was a whirlwind of grit, a relentless investigative journalist whose words unraveled corruption. Her auburn curls framed a face taut with focus as she typed, chasing a biotech scandal. Her swollen belly pressed against the desk, a quiet testament to the life she'd built with Julian Holt, her brilliant, haunted husband. Julian, 37, was the mind behind Biogenesis, a biotech titan promising miracles. Or so she'd believed. She paused, stretching her aching back, and glanced at a framed photo. Her and Julian laughing on a windswept beach, his stormy gray eyes alight with dreams. Those eyes hid pain. She knew he'd lost his sister to a genetic disease, a wound that drove his relentless quest to fix the world. Lately, though, he'd grown distant, his silences heavy with secrets. Shaking off the unease, she wandered to his locked office. Tonight, curiosity won. She pried open the drawer with a hairpin, her breath hitching as she pulled out a folder stamped with Biogenesis's logo. Inside, an encrypted drive whispered horrors. Project Phoenix. Immortality through gene editing. Risks. Loss of humanity. Classified. Her pulse raced. Immortality? At what cost? A bone-shaking explosion tore through the night, the penthouse quaking as a fiery glow blazed across the skyline. Clara staggered to the balcony, her heart hammering. Biogenesis's tower was a raging inferno, smoke choking the fog. "Julian!" she gasped, hands clutching her belly. He'd left for a meeting an hour ago. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Run, Clara, they want Phoenix. I'll destroy it. Stay alive." Fear clawed at her. Destroy what? The door crashed open. Masked figures in black stormed in, boots thundering, guns glinting like death. "Where's Holt?" one snarled, his voice a guttural rasp. Clara's knees buckled, her mind reeling. "I don't know," she cried, panic splintering her voice. A bullet grazed the wall, and she bolted, the drive gripped tight in her sweating palm. Her pregnant frame slowed her, every step a fight as she stumbled into the stairwell, tears blurring her vision. Sirens wailed below, a chaotic chorus to her terror. She ducked into the shadows, her breath ragged, the baby kicking as if sensing her dread. Who were they? What had Julian unleashed? The man she'd loved, the dreamer who'd sworn to heal after his sister's death, had plunged her into a nightmare. Her phone buzzed again, Julian's voicemail faint and frantic. "Clara, I'm sorry. Stay safe. I'll fix this." The line died, leaving her alone, rage and betrayal scorching her chest. Her home, her trust, all shattered in a fiery blast. Crouching against the stairwell's cold concrete, Clara's journalist instincts flared. Phoenix wasn't just a project. It was a curse, trading souls for eternity. She'd trusted Julian to chase miracles, not monsters. Now she'd uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The life inside her kicked, a spark of defiance amidst the ashes. She wouldn't let them win. Not these hunters, not Julian's lies. With a steely breath, she slipped into the foggy night, a hunted woman with a story to break. The city loomed, its lights flickering like distant warnings, as she vanished into the mist, determined to fight for the family she still believed in. Clara's breaths rasped in the stairwell's icy gloom, the encrypted drive a cold weight against her chest. The night's chaos, Biogenesis's inferno, the masked hunters, swirled in her mind, a storm threatening to break her. Yet as terror clawed at her, her thoughts drifted, pulling her back to the man Julian Holt had been before lies and fire consumed him. She shut her eyes, the fog fading into the golden haze of memory, a past now tainted with doubt. 5 years ago, she'd met him at a biotech conference in Palo Alto, a hive of restless dreamers. Clara, 24, was a blaze of ambition, her notepad scarred with questions, her auburn curls wild. Julian, 32, stood out. A lean figure with tousled dark hair and stormy gray eyes burning with quiet zeal. At his biogenesis booth, he spoke of erasing genetic flaws, his voice low and fierce. "No one should die like my sister did," he'd said, his gaze locking with hers, a raw edge to his conviction. She'd felt it then, a spark of shared fire. Their bond ignited fast. Over cheap coffee in a diner, he'd confessed his drive. His sister Ellie, lost at 15 to a rare gene defect, her death a wound he'd sworn to heal. "I'll rewrite the rules," he'd vowed, his hand brushing hers, sparking a thrill in her chest. Clara, fierce and fearless, saw a partner in him, a dreamer with a cause. They'd talked until dawn, his passion a magnet, her heart already his. Love grew in the cracks of struggle. They'd work late in his cramped lab, Clara scribbling notes as he tested theories, his focus unshakable. But shadows crept in early. She'd catch him on hushed calls, his voice sharp, defensive. "It's not ready yet," he'd snap, shoving papers into locked drawers. Once she'd pressed him about a file marked Phoenix, and he'd deflected, eyes flickering. "Just immortality research. Nothing serious," he'd said, too quick, too casual. She'd let it slide, blind to the warning. When biogenesis soared, a patent that dazzled the world, their lives shifted. The lab became a penthouse, their dreams a glittering reality. He proposed on a cliff above the Pacific, waves crashing as he slid a ring onto her finger. "You're my compass, Clara," he'd said, voice thick with love. She'd clung to him, the wind whipping her hair, joy blinding her to the cracks. But success sharpened his edges. Late nights stretched into absences, his excuses thin. "Investors pushing me," he'd mutter, avoiding her gaze. She'd seen him scribble frantic notes, heard him argue with a stranger on the phone. "Phoenix isn't for sale," his tone a mix of fear and defiance. The baby's news briefly bridged the gap. She'd pressed an ultrasound into his hands, her voice bright with hope. "We're parents, Julian." His smile flared, pure, fleeting, before dread shadowed his eyes. "Ellie would have loved this," he'd whispered, pulling her close, but his grip was tense, his mind elsewhere. "It's perfect timing," she'd insisted, ignoring the chill. He'd nodded, but she'd missed the signs. His late-night pacing, the locked office, the weight of secrets growing heavier. Now, in the stairwell's dark, those cracks split wide. The Julian she'd loved, the boy who'd wept for Ellie, who'd dreamed of healing, had twisted that grief into something monstrous. Phoenix wasn't a cure. It was a curse, trading humanity for eternity, and he'd chased it from the start. Had he planned this all along, those hushed calls a prelude to betrayal? His text, "I'll destroy it," rang hollow against the drive's truth. Immortality research, classified. The words pulsed, venom in her veins. A kick from her baby jolted her back, a fierce reminder of what she'd lost, and what she'd save. Tears stung, but she wiped them away, her jaw tightening. She'd been his compass, but he'd steered them into hell. The man she'd married was a ghost, his love a lie she'd clung to too long. Yet his voice lingered. No one should die like Ellie. A plea she'd once believed, now a dagger in her trust. The stairwell's silence pressed in, sirens faint beyond the fog. Clara gripped the drive, its edges biting her palm, and stood, resolve hardening like steel. Julian's dream had burned their world, but she'd rise from its ashes. He'd vowed to destroy Phoenix. Alive or dead, she'd hold him to it, even if it meant hunting him herself. With a steadying breath, she slipped into the night, a woman betrayed but unbroken, chasing a truth that might redeem or ruin what was left. The San Francisco fog swallowed Clara as she fled the stairwell, her heart pounding like a war drum. The encrypted drive seared her palm, a key to a truth she feared to face. Her swollen belly slowed her, but terror drove her on. A prey in a city turned hunter. Biogenesis's fiery ruin lingered in her mind. Julian's empire torched, masked figures shattering her life. She needed answers, fast. Her trembling fingers dialed Maya Torres, her fierce best friend and hacker extraordinaire. At 31, Maya was a storm of defiance. Dark hair, wild, brown eyes piercing, her mind ablaze against the impossible. Maya, it's me, Clara rasped, voice jagged. Biogenesis exploded. They attacked me. Julian's gone. Maya's reply was steel. Oakland safe house. Now. I've got you. Clara clung to that promise, hailing a cab through the mist, ignoring the driver's stare. The safe house was a cluttered loft above a gritty street, screens humming with life. Maya yanked Clara inside, her gaze sharp as she took the drive. What happened? She demanded, fury lacing her fear. Clara sank onto a couch, hands shaking. Found this in Julian's office. Then it all burned. Maya plugged it in, fingers flying across keys, the monitor's glow etching her tense face. The files spilled out like poison. Project Phoenix wasn't a dream. It was a nightmare serum, promising immortality by rewriting genes, stripping away humanity in the process. Perfect soldiers, no soul, one memo read, detailing trials that turned subjects into hollow shells, alive forever, but dead inside. Clara's stomach churned. This isn't Julian, she whispered, denial cracking her voice. Yet the evidence glared. Offshore payments, a note in his scrawl. For Ellie, if I'd had this then. His sister's death had twisted him into this. Maya swore, her voice low. He built a monster. The syndicate wants it. Immortality's ultimate power. She dug deeper, pulling chatter. Holt's fighting us. Destroy it or die. Clara's breath hitched. Julian resisting? Her phone buzzed with his voice, strained through static. Clara, don't trust them. I'm burning Phoenix. Stay alive. Ha! The line cut as she shouted, rage and hope warring in her chest. Burning it where? She demanded, the loft echoing her cry. The choice was stolen. Tires screeched outside, an SUV slamming to a halt. Bullets shattered the windows, shredding the safe house. Down! Maya roared, shoving Clara behind a server rack. Glass rained as Clara shielded her belly, gunfire tearing through. Maya typed fast, triggering a server overload. Sparks flew, smoke billowed, masking their escape. Back door! She hissed, dragging Clara out as the loft burned, her quick hack buying seconds. They burst into an alley, fog cloaking them as gunfire faded. Maya shoved a USB with the files into Clara's hands, her voice fierce. I stalled them! Run! Clara's tears fell. You can't stay! Maya's glare was iron. I'll catch up! Save that kid! Clara fled, her legs screaming, the USB a ticking bomb. Julian's words, I'm burning Phoenix, rang hollow against the serum's horror. Had he fought it, or birthed it for Ellie's ghost? She ducked into a doorway, breath ragged, the city's pulse a distant thrum. Maya's stand burned in her mind, a debt she'd repay. Phoenix wasn't just illegal, it was apocalyptic, a key to endless tyranny in the syndicate's hands. Julian's scrawl haunted her, for Ellie. His grief a seed for this madness. She'd loved him, trusted him, but he'd traded their future for a dead girl's shadow. A shadow loomed, an armed figure, gun raised. Clara pressed against the wall, brick biting her back, her pulse racing. The hunter advanced, fog curling around him. With a surge of defiance, she bolted, her body protesting, mind sharp. The baby kicked, a fierce will to live. She hit a deserted street, spotting a payphone, a relic in the haze. Coins clinked as she dialed Maya's burner. No answer. Panic clawed, but her journalist's grit flared. She wasn't prey. She was a predator, too. Phoenix was her story now, a weapon of immortality that stole souls, and she'd expose it, even if it meant facing Julian's ruin. The syndicate wouldn't stop, nor would she. Fog thickened, the city a maze of danger. Clara gripped the USB, her resolve steeling. Julian might be fighting them or fleeing them, but she'd find him, and the truth, before they found her. Clara's lungs burned as she raced through the Presidio's fog, the USB a searing weight in her pocket. Syndicate hunters lurked in the mist, but Maya's sacrifice fueled her. Save that kid? She'd traced Julian's call to an abandoned lab, its rusted gates a grim sentinel. Answers waited within, and she'd tear them out, pregnant or not. The lab's door groaned as she shoved through, her body trembling with fury. Machines hummed, vials glowing faintly. Julian stood at the center, haggard, gray eyes wild, a syringe of shimmering serum in hand. Wires trailed from a console, a makeshift bomb ticking down. "Clara!" he rasped, voice breaking. "Get out!" She thrust the USB at him, tears blazing. "What's Phoenix? What did you do?" He flinched, the syringe shaking. "It was for Ellie," he confessed, words spilling like blood. "Immortality serum, to save her from dying like that. But it strips humanity, turns people into shells. The Syndicate twisted it. I'm destroying it now." Clara's heart sank, but she pressed, voice steel. "You're no victim. You ran it." Then came the gut punch. "I tested it on us," he whispered, eyes on her belly. "On her, to protect her like I couldn't protect Ellie." Time froze. Clara's breath caught, hands clutching her stomach. "You what?" she screamed, a wail shattering the silence. He'd slipped it into her during a checkup, believing it'd make their child invincible. "I wanted her safe forever," he pleaded, tears streaking his face. "Safe?" Clara spat, rage boiling. "You cursed her to live without a soul!" Love twisted into revulsion. He'd gambled their baby for a ghost. The lab's doors exploded, syndicate killers storming in, guns blazing. Julian shoved Clara behind the console, his bomb's timer flashing. 2 minutes. "Run!" he roared, firing back. A figure staggered through the chaos. Maya, bruised and bleeding, her hacker's grit unbroken. "Got out with a decoy blast," she gasped, slamming a wrench into an attacker. Clara lunged for the dropped syringe, a bullet grazing her arm, pain fueling her defiance. Maya wrestled a gunman, shouting, "Antidote! Cabinet!" Clara smashed it open, grabbing a clear vial as the timer hit 1 minute. Syndicate shouts drowned the lab, bullets chewing metal. She faced Julian, syringe raised. "You don't control us!" she hissed, plunging the antidote into her arm, its sting a desperate hope. He reached for her, pleading, but she recoiled, the gulf between them a wound. The timer beeped. 30 seconds. Maya yelled, "Out!" dragging Clara toward an exit. Julian tackled a killer, his voice raw. "Go, I'll end this." He hit the console, the bomb's whine piercing the fray. Clara stumbled into the fog, Maya at her side, as the lab erupted. Flames and screams swallowing the night. She collapsed against a tree, antidote surging, USB clutched tight. Julian's fate blurred in the blast. Hero or fool? He was gone. Clara staggered through the Presidio's fog, her body a wreck as the lab's fiery blast roared behind her. The antidote surged in her veins, a desperate shield for the child Julian had cursed. Blood oozed from her grazed arm, but she gripped the USB, breath ragged with defiance. Julian's final shout, "I'll end this!" faded into the chaos, his fate lost in flames. Her baby was her fight now. Headlights cut the mist. Maya's van screeched up, her friend leaping out, bruised and limping from a bullet graze. "Rigged the safe house to blow, slowed them," Maya gasped, her hacker's grit unbroken. Clara's tears fell as Maya pulled her in, voice fierce. "Hospital, now!" The van lurched off, fog swirling, Clara clutching the antidote's empty vial, praying it had undone Phoenix's stain. At UCSF Medical Center, time blurred into urgency. Maya slumped in a chair, blood staining her sleeve, while a doctor, a grizzled geneticist Maya knew, tested the antidote. "It counters the serum," he confirmed, voice grim. Phoenix would have left her alive forever, but hollow, no emotions, no soul. Clara shuddered. Julian's words. Safe forever. Twisting into horror. Contractions hit, early and fierce, trauma rushing her labor. Save her, she begged, gripping Maya's hand as pain tore through. News flickered on a muted TV. Biogenesis ash. Syndicate scattered. A vague report. One figure fled the blast site. Clara's heart skipped. Julian alive? She couldn't dwell. Her body demanded focus. Pain surged, a tidal wave, but she pushed, every cry a defiance of his betrayal. Maya's voice anchored her. You've got this! With a final primal roar, Clara birthed her daughter, a wailing miracle, free of Phoenix shadow. The doctor placed the newborn in her arms, small and warm. Ah, Lily, Clara whispered, naming her for purity reclaimed. Tears flowed, relief and grief crashing together, as she traced Lily's green eyes, hers, and a hint of Julian's dark hair. The antidote had won. Lily was whole, human. Maya grinned, exhaustion softening her edge. She's a fighter, like you. Clara's mind churned. Julian's empire was dust, their wealth gone, his fate a question mark. Had he burned Phoenix for redemption or just survival? She saw Ellie in his choices, not greed, but a broken boy's plea to rewrite fate. It didn't erase the wound. He'd risked Lily for a ghost, and that cut deepest. Yet Lily's heartbeat against her chest dulled the ache, a fragile dawn breaking through. She kissed Lily's forehead, lips trembling with love. We're enough, she vowed, voice steadying. The hospital hummed around them, a refuge from the storm. Julian's dream had scorched their world, but hers, Lily's, would bloom anew. Clara breathed, her fight shifting from vengeance to hope, a mother forged in fire. The hospital's hum faded as Clara held Lily, her newborn's breaths a soft song against the storm's wreckage. At 29, she was a mother now, green eyes weary but fierce, auburn curls damp with sweat. Lily's warmth grounded her, a spark salvaged from Julian's ruin. The world outside churned. Biogenesis gone, syndicate broken. But in this fragile moment, Clara began to heal. Weeks slipped by, San Francisco's fog a constant veil as Clara rebuilt. She and Lily settled in the Mission District, a modest flat with creaky floors, a stark fall from the penthouse's gleam. Maya, arm bandaged from her graze, stayed near. Her hacker's fire dimmed but unquenched. Together, they'd leaked the USB's secrets. Phoenix's horrors splashed across headlines. Biogenesis's name dust. Clara stayed anonymous, her war waged in silence. One gray dawn, a letter slid under her door, Julian's scrawl, smudged and urgent. Clara, it read, I survived. Rigged the lab to blow them out. I'm in hiding, hunting Phoenix's last traces. Ellie's death won't be for this. I love you, but I've lost you. Keep Lily safe. She's our light. Clara's heart clenched, relief and fury colliding. He lived, not just fleeing, but fighting his creation's ghosts. She burned the letter, ash curling in her hands. You don't own us, she whispered, Lily's coup stealing her resolve. Her journalist's soul flared anew. With Maya, now hobbling but sharp, Clara launched the Phoenix Files, a blog slashing through biotech lies. She wrote of Phoenix's curse, immortality that stole humanity, a dream Julian had warped for Ellie's memory. The site surged, a clarion for truth, her nights alive with keystrokes, Lily asleep beside her. This is ours, she'd murmur, purpose blooming from pain. The city bore scars. Investigations droned. A news blip warning. Phoenix remnants in criminal hands, a looming threat. Clara shivered. Julian's fight wasn't hers, but its shadow lingered. She found peace in Lily's growth, her giggles a balm, green eyes mirroring Clara's fire. Maya, healing slow, rigged their flat with security, her grin fierce. No one's touching you two. Clara nodded, her strength swelling. One evening, a stranger knocked, a woman, eyes cautious, handing over a flash drive. From him, she said, melting into the fog. Clara plugged it in with Maya, breath held. It showed Julian's early pleas. Shut Phoenix down. It's not Ellie's cure. Ignored by greedy suits. He'd resisted, faltered, then fell. He tried, Maya said, voice soft. Clara stared at Lily, anger easing. Not enough. We move on. Lily thrived, her laughter painting their home, toys scattered like hope. Clara stood on their porch one foggy night, Lily against her chest, the bay's lights glinting through mist. We're enough, she vowed, peace settling in. Julian's ashes, his dream, his fight, had birthed this. Her daughter, her voice. He might hunt Phoenix's dregs, but her story rose anew. To you, our amazing viewers. Thank you for riding this epic storm with us. Clara's grit, Julian's fall, and Lily's hope prove love outshines ambition's ashes. What hit you hardest? Comment below. Forgive Julian or stand with Clara. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more tales of fire and heart. You fuel these stories. See you next time.